Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Jimmy Talks. Today, we're diving deep into some real stuff. Chicago gang life. Picture this. It's a hot summer day. You took your lady out to eat at a nice restaurant, and you're stopping for gas on the way home. And then, boom, gunshots start ripping through the air. Windows shatter, people scream, and just like that, another name gets scratched into the list of gang warfare. This isn't a movie. This is Chicago almost every day, where the streets don't sleep and the beef never ends. We're talking about a city where gangs run so deep, they're part of the DNA. From sniper wars and high-rises, literally, to drill beats about shooting rival gangs, this life is insane, ruthless, and as real as it gets. Let's break it all down, how it started, who's fighting who, and why the violence keeps spinning out of control. Let's get it. First off, let's talk roots and origin. Chicago's gang life didn't just pop off overnight. It has history. It starts primarily with the gangster disciples, known as the GDs, and the black disciples, known as the BDs. The gangster disciples came up in the 60s, started by a man named Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover was in the gang life from the beginning, starting in 1964 when he was just 13 years old. He was in a set called the Supreme Gangsters. The Supreme Gangsters had a war with a rival gang called the Black Disciples, led by a man named David Barksdale. There was lots of bloodshed, shootings every single day, sometimes multiple, over territory beef, drug trade, and retaliation for past gang killings. He linked up with David Barksdale's crew, still his biggest rival, after much bloodshed and feuding, and fused their gangs together in 1969. From there, Gangster Disciples were born. They're all about that six-pointed star as their gang symbol. They will say that GD stands for growth and development on paper, but don't get it twisted, it's war on the streets. Eventually, in 1991, the gang split apart, forming the Black Disciples and the Gangster Disciples, leading to modern-day, ongoing beef. Back to the origins though. You also got the Vice Lords, going back even further to the 1950s. Started in a juvie lockup by guys like Edward Perry, they turned into a powerhouse on the west side. They repped the five-pointed star and a whole lot of pride. But here's where it gets wild. Back in the day, these gangs weren't tied to the projects. Places like Cabrini Green and Robert Taylor Homes weren't just apartments. They were battlegrounds. Gangs turned these high-rises into fortresses. You had snipers posted up on the 10th floor, picking off rivals in the courtyard below. Bullets flying through stairwells, elevators turned into kill zones. These weren't just buildings. They were straight-up war zones, where you either repped your set, or you got smoked. That's how deep this runs. Let's pivot to modern-day Chicago, where the faction wars pop off like fireworks on the 4th of July. You have multiple sets inside of multiple gangs, loosely organized, each touting their own shooters and popular rappers, like FBG, Front Street Boys, O-Block, Lamron, and a dozen others all over the city, all beefing over blocks that ain't even a mile apart. Let's talk about one of the bigger ones, O-Block. O-Block's tied to Parkway Gardens, an apartment complex in the south side of Chicago. It is named after a gang member from the Black Disciples after he was killed, a man named O.D. Perry, at a mere 20 years old. Since then, they have been at it with dang near everybody. The Gangster Disciples, a rival gang, also called the GDs, which is primarily located only a mere 3-minute walk away, spitting distance when you think about it, is one of the top rivals of the Black Disciples, which contains multiple different sets and has their own cliques like Flyboy Gang, where the popular rapper FBG Duck is from, and they're throwing shots, literal and lyrical, with rivals like OTF from Lil Durk's crew. This isn't just random chaos either, it's personal. One dude gets hit, his homies retaliate, and it's a cycle that doesn't stop. You got Tukaville versus Lamron, 300 versus 079. It's like a damn chessboard, but everybody's a body. The Southside's a meat grinder, and the crazy part, these factions used to be under bigger banners like GDs or BDs. but now they've mostly splintered into their own little armies, fighting for clout, cash, and corners. It's war. Let's talk about how these gangs show off their affiliations. Gang signs and symbols are the flags and uniforms in this street war. Typically, in the modern day, crews throw up their own hand signs, so there is a large variety of different signs and symbols that gangs use. We're just going to look at the generalized backgrounds of 3 major gangs and their hand signs though, due to how many individual blocks in the city have their own signs, and it can be quite confusing to go through all of them. The Gangster Disciples do a hand symbol that resembles pitchforks. When they do this, they use 6 fingers, each hand having 3 of the fingers being used. This makes it 6-pointed. This is in reference to the Star of David, not to be confused with the Jewish religion, but in honor and remembrance of their original leader, David Barksdale, who they also refer to as King David. The Vice Lords twist their fingers into a shape that resembles the letters V and L, making an acronym to represent themselves. Black Disciples throw up what they call the tray, 3 fingers up. Every set's got their own hand signs, their own tattoos, their own rappers. When these gangs throw up their hand signs to rep their set, or perform graffiti on the side of buildings with their gang signs and logos, it's a target on their back. Throw the wrong sign in the wrong hood, and these guys can potentially get into a sporadic street shootout. These symbols are life or death. That's how you know who's your brother and who's your enemy. And in Chicago, you better know the difference quick, cause dudes don't ask questions, they just pull triggers. Now, let's touch up on the soundtrack of this madness. The most popular version of Chicago and why Chicago is famous for all the stuff that's going on there. Drill music. I'm sure you have heard of some of these rappers if you are a rap fan, such as Chief Keef, Lil Durk, FBG Duck, King Von, G Herbo, and many, many more. Drill rap is the outlet for these gang members, many trying to strike it big in the music industry. Some came up big, and some were killed during gang beefs. Some of these young men had lots of potential, just for it to end suddenly and tragically in the ongoing gang warfare. Drill rap is raw, it's dark, and it's straight up war. These tracks aren't just bangers to head bop to. They're disses on rival gangs, hit lists, and victory laps. A lot of songs indirectly or directly mention which gang killed which other gang member to further fuel beef in the gang war. For example, when King Von dropped Took Her to the O, he wasn't just spitting bars, he was calling out bodies. Drill can be compared to pouring gasoline on a fire. One crew drops a track and the other claps back, and the next thing you know, somebody has been shot and killed. It's clout and revenge rolled into one. Labels eat it up, fans stream it, but on the ground, it's real blood. The beat slaps, but the streets pay the price. That's drill, Chicago's war cry. Speaking of blood, let's get into the violence. These gangs have developed their skills in warfare over time, utilizing legitimate tactics that organized armies would use. It can also be chaotic and spur of the moment, with gang members shooting their guns in broad daylight, no matter where it is. Corner stores, barbershops, residential blocks, you name it. Innocent civilians catch stray bullets all the time, like children, women, and the elderly. One minute, a kid can be buying a bag of chips at the corner store after playing outside with his friends, and in the spur of the moment, he is ducking shots fired by an AK, due to happenstance of being in the same store that a gang member is in. Shootings pop off so fast that many people don't know what's happening. Many times, gang members will shoot back, sometimes blindly, in the direction of the gunfire, while scattering out of the kill zone the best that they can. Gangs can be smart about how they conduct warfare. Depending on the triggerman, they utilize small unit tactics straight out of a military playbook. Ambushes at stoplights, hitting linear danger areas like alleys where you can't run. Violence of action, like running straight up to their enemies, and leaving their enemies in a hail of gunfire, with no hesitation. Some crews even use drones to scope out rivals, or they use jammers for phones and radios to cut comms. They even have certain clothing, akin to uniforms that they will wear before they go on a shooting, like wearing all black clothes, putting a mask on, putting a hood up on their hoodie, and wearing disposable gloves to hide fingerprints on their guns. To further evade detection, stolen vehicles are used, so the license plate and descriptions of the vehicle cannot be used to identify them. This is so that they can still remain undetected if a camera catches them. It's calculated chaos, and when it's over, the block's a ghost town. Shell casings and sirens are all that's left. Not only is music used as a tool in this gang violence, but social media also is. It is part of the new battleground. Instagram Live, Snapchat, Twitter. Gang members will post up with stacks of cash, AR-15s, AKs, flashy cars, and women. It's a taunt, a trophy, and a spark for the next hit. They'll flash a Draco or a Glock with a switch like, "Come get me." It's clout chasing with bullets. How do they make all that cash? They make money using multiple different streams of illegal income. Drugs is a big one. Selling marijuana, cocaine, pharmacy pills, and other drugs is a profit source for these gangs. Fraud is big too. Credit card scams, PPP loans, you name it. There is also robbery, running up on anybody with something to take. It's a hustle, but it's a gamble. Every dollar is soaked in risk, and every flex could be your last. So, where's this leave us? Chicago gang life is seriously insane. It's a machine that has been grinding for decades. Born into projects, splintered into factions, fueled by music and media. It's war with no end, where gang signs, gang music, and shootings keep the cycle spinning. The streets don't care about your age, your dreams, or your family. They'll eat you alive. This is not me glorifying it either. This is real talk. It's a tragedy dressed up as clout and rap songs. Many listeners to these songs may or may not know the violent bloodshed behind these songs. So, what's the way out? I do not know, to be honest with you. You could try multiple different solutions, but shining a light on it is a start. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about all of this? Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep the conversation going. And with that, Jimmy Talks out.